Hi, I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
There is now a document which states Louisiana and Cuba are ready to trade agricultural products. Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, signed the Memorandum of Understanding while in Cuba for the first week of October.
That's a big deal because Cuba imports 80% of its food at a cost of $2 billion a year. Now it's up to Congress to take steps to open up trade with our neighbor 90 miles off the U.S. coast.
The Capitolio in Havana, Cuba looks a lot like the U.S. Capitol, but the political process practiced inside has little in common with what goes on in Washington, D.C. That's why Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, signing this Memorandum of Understanding between Louisiana and Cuba to pursue the trade of agricultural goods is a bridge that could cross that 90-mile gap between the two countries.
It's about relationships. As you can see today, from the first visit that we came in July and today, we've developed some very friendly and good term relationships with the senior Cuban ministers.
Relationships which could be profitable for both countries. Strain says next year, Cuba will buy $75 million worth of rice. Prior to the revolution, Louisiana was Cuba's #1 source for rice. Right now, much of the rice Cubans eat comes from as far away as Vietnam.
We are perfectly poised to be the predominant player in these markets.
Despite the embargo imposed by Congress, Cuba does buy some agricultural products from the United States. It's only through cash sales, no credit. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards says by paying cash only, Cuba received $1.5 billion worth of goods from Louisiana over the last 10 years.
This is going to put us in a position to where we can resume that relationship, but we don't have to wait because there are things we can do right now. We already, over the last 10 years, Louisiana is the state in the United States that trades more with Cuba than the next 5 states combined.
Congressman Rick Crawford of Arkansas had an amendment before Congress that would allow banks to extend credit to Cuba for the purchase of U.S. agricultural products. He withdrew the amendment 2 months ago with the promise that Congress would reconsider it after the November elections. Obviously, Louisiana has a lot to gain from that because so much of what farmers grow in the Midwest comes down the Mississippi River for shipment abroad, Kristen.
Well, Avery, you went with Congressman Crawford to the trip in April and then also again with Commissioner Strain in July. What is your take on these events?
Well, mind you, this is my opinion and my opinion only, but I understand, and maybe this is why I was a pretty good reporter, I understand kind of both sides. I understand why folks who had family in Cuba and lost everything after the revolution want reparations from the Cuban government. But I also understand where we have a lot to gain through trade and why trade would help out the Cuban people. Because it's kind of like, let's say you have a next door neighbor, Kristen, who works for the meanest guy in town, does not give them as much money as they need, but the children there are hungry. Do you not give them food or sell them food or help them out because they work for the meanest guy in town? And that's sort of the way I think about it. This is our next door neighbor. We got to try and find some way to help them out. And I understand, again, that there's a lot of history here, but it's been 60 years. Let's start to work through it. Again, my opinion.
Well, that was a very good analogy and a way to explain it to people. It sounds like we're just going to have to wait and see who wins this presidential election for what the outcomes are.
We'll wait and see. The technology produced by the LSU AgCenter is great for farmers and consumers who use it, but also for the LSU AgCenter itself. Millions of dollars come back into the AgCenter each year in royalty payments, and that money goes back directly into funding more research.
This week, TWILA's Carl Wiggers takes us to Crowley, Louisiana, to the Rice Research Station there for our first installment of Patently Louisiana.
Rice and gumbo go hand in hand, but before it's in your bowl, it's grown here. And even before it's in the field, it starts right here.
Rice is the third major crop in Louisiana from the standpoint most years of acreage and as well gross farm value. Most of the rice varieties that are grown in the state come from the H-Rouse Cafe Rice Research Station, where I've made my career.
Steve Linscomb is the director of that station, where he also works heavily in the lab. He and his researchers have received numerous patents for different varieties of their Clearfield rice. One of those researchers breeding new varieties of rice is Adam Famoso.
So the efforts here at the breeding program are to develop new and improved superior rice varieties for the producers and the rice industry of Louisiana. Every variety has a weakness, so we're always looking to improve on what's out there, what's available to the growers, and what's will be the most profitable.
The breeding program in Crowley happens here in the lab and also out in the field.
The lab is a way to kind of supplement what we do in the field. It allows us to make selections and advancements throughout the year, and it also lets us to make selections on traits that would be too difficult to do on large scales.
The lab allows Famoso and his team to look at thousands of plants a day. This allows them to put a higher quality plant into the field.
We can run 40,000 samples through the lab a day and evaluate those lines for blast or a grain quality or aroma. It's not feasible to cook 40,000 samples of rice a day to evaluate it for aroma, and it's not possible to screen for blast that many lines in a day. So it allows us essentially to look for some of the more complex traits at the early stages of the breeding program when we normally wouldn't be able to do that in the field. Kind of allows us to stack the deck of what we actually put in the field.
The lab helps the team decide what to put into the field, but it's the field that decides if the variety will go to the farm.
If the lab tells us this should be a great variety, but the field says otherwise, then that variety is not released. But the lab is something we do in the beginning stages of the breeding program, but the last few years is all field-based. So the lab is a complement to what we do in the field.
What these researchers are producing here at the station are rice varieties that actually make it to the farm.
This technology has been extremely important to the state of Louisiana. In fact, 60% of our rice acreage this past year was in Clearfield type varieties.
However, Linscomb says Clearfield varieties are not only grown here in Louisiana. 12 countries around the world grow Clearfield rice that is developed right here in Louisiana.
Famoso says what he loves most is working alongside the farmers and helping them own their farms. This is what makes LSU AgCenter so great for Louisiana agriculture. The work that begins in a lab is soon taken to the field, and the farmer himself becomes part of the research team. And Avery, Kristen, I got to see that growing up on the farm back at home with Dad and the way he worked with the LSU AgCenter there in Winsboro.
Yeah, I'm sure y'all had some test plots out there on the farm.
We did. And I mean, we had researchers all the time on the farm, and Dad would be going to Winsboro, and you could just see hand in hand, Dad couldn't do what he did on the farm without the work that the researchers did, and likewise, the researchers couldn't do at the research station what they needed without Dad and what he does at the farm. It was just, the way they work together is just, it's really neat and really important to both of their works.
Well, I know what's going to be really neat is your next installment in this series, so thank you very much, Carl Wiggers.
Well, last week, as we told you, it was 4-H week, and while members were pledging their hands to service, one Louisiana hunting lodge was pledging an unprecedented sum of money to 4-H.
The Honey Break Hunting Lodge pledged $1 million to the Louisiana 4-H for permanent funding for educational trips and camps for 4-H members. This is the largest single donation from a single donor in state history.
The lodge held a fundraiser earlier this year called Guns and Gumbo. Organizers had difficulty due to high water from the Mississippi River flooding the original hunting area, but still went through with it. Located on 20,000 acres near Larto Lake in Cuba Parish, the lodge also has hosted several 4-H events like the Junior Leaders and Southern Regional meetings. It's also the site of one of the largest wetland restoration projects in the state.
Louisiana 4-H Foundation Executive Director Patrick Tuck says plans are in the works for youth wetlands education programs, wildlife photography and shooting sports training camps, and competitions. Well, speaking of 4-H, growing educated consumers is one of the missions of the National 4-H organization. In Louisiana, 4-H extension agents working with the LSU AgCenter lead that charge.
Once a year, 4-H extension agents from across the country get together to discuss and learn about how to best teach young people about leadership, community, and agriculture. This year, the National Association of Extension 4-H agents is meeting in New Orleans, and we're told it has the highest attendance ever. More than 1,600 4-H agents from across the country converged on the Hyatt Regency in New Orleans. This event is unlike any other because Louisiana and Texas are co-hosting the conference. Sessions like this one are designed to give 4-H agents new ideas to bring home so they can teach young people about where their food and fiber come from and about how knowing about agriculture makes them better consumers.
One of the key roles of all extension programming is to be able to educate and teach not only young people but the community as well, including parents, adults, everyone in the community about agriculture, where their food comes from, how we are really all connected, and how agriculture is the foundation for everything that we enjoy in life.
Our job is to mold the young people in our communities, and that's a very important role for all of us.
The event wrapped up on October 13th, and we got more interviews and video than we could share here on the show, so we've put those up on our social media outlets, and you'll find a link to those on our website at twilatv.org. Well, do-it-yourself tea growers flocked to the annual LSU Horticulture Field Day.
Visitors there not only enjoyed a great venue to check out Louisiana-style fall colors, but as TWILA's AJ Sabine shows us, landscape architects also traveled to Hammond to show off the latest trends in fall plantings.
Now the new celosia, besides the intense that a lot of people really like, is dragon's breath.
Under a bright October sun, amateurs and professional gardeners alike take in a bit of color.
You're starting to see bicolored angelonias now.
At the LSU AgCenter's annual Horticulture Field Day, Station Director Dr. Alan Owings briefs visitors on the latest discoveries derived from LSU Extension researchers. Now, despite the loss of some plant trials during the August flood, Owings says it was important to share information from trials that survived the mighty Tangipahoa River.
We wanted to provide retail garden centers, wholesale nursery growers, landscape industry professionals with an opportunity to see the research that we're doing here at the Hammond Research Station. We do a lot of new research every year. We add to our programs every year. So we think it's important to go ahead and have all these events because we want to keep the industry updated on what's going on.
Right now, tea production raises many questions from visitors at this year's field day. According to research, Owing tells home gardeners they can plant productive Camellia sinensis or tea plants here in Louisiana. Tangipahoa Parish nursery owner Mary Mizell explains.
This is a Camellia sinensis plant. They do flower. They actually grow like a sasanqua. They can take sun, but actually we tell people they need a little bit of shade. And you actually make the tea from the uppermost tea leaves. You don't make it from the whole plant. You just make it from the upper tea leaves.
Perhaps the biggest draw every year is the station's sun garden. Visitors like Ginger Fortson and Jeff Bell came out to learn about new species of superplants and other varieties that do particularly well here in Louisiana. Fortson made several notes on superplants she found during the field day.
From the number of butterflies, you can tell that these are good pollinators here and good host plants and nectar plants for butterflies.
Torpedo grass was introduced in the 1920s along the Gulf Coast.
Seminars on weed science also dominated the attention of many participants of this year's field day. Dr. Alan Owings says the popularity of this field day reflects the passion of researchers here at the station.
We're getting very good enthusiastic response from the consumers that come to the Hammond Research Station and also our commercial clientele. We think we are providing a very good industry service. All the new plant material, the new plant trials is very significant. That's what the advisory committees that we work on say we need to be doing. So I think our Louisiana Super Plant Program and our Louisiana Plants with Potential program that the LSU AgCenter is doing is providing that information for them.
Now, researchers also presented an overview of ornamental plant variety evaluations, including annual bedding plants, herbaceous perennials, and of course roses. If you would like more information on the next field day or more information about the Southeast Louisiana Nursery Association, please log on to our website at twilatv.org. And you know what, Kristen, you would have loved all of the beautiful colors, the pollinators, the butterflies. Magnificent.
It looked like a really fun story, and I'm wondering where my invitation to the event was.
Well, see, because it's out in Hammond and it's in the rural communities, some of the cell phone signal service, next time.
Convenient excuse, AJ. Great story.
Thank you much. Well, still to come on TWILA, we're off to camp. The Vernon Parish Field Day is teaching high school students about the importance of agriculture.
Plus, breeding better bees. Find out what's buzzing coming up after this. Stay with us. Food doesn't come from the grocery store. Seems like a simple idea, doesn't it? But the fact is, many kids don't know where their food and fiber come from.
TWILA's Neil Melanson takes us out to Vernon Parish, where agricultural groups are helping bring school-age children to a real farm for hands-on lessons on where things grow.
From routine maintenance,
it's a normal school day here in Vernon Parish for these Pickering High School students, but the experience they're getting is anything but normal. You expect your kids to learn something each day at school, but today there's a lot for them to take in. A lot of them are from rural areas, but for many, they've gotten away from the farm. This field day was started by the Vernon Parish Cattlemen's Association and the Vernon Parish School Board. Organizers say it's so important in reconnecting kids like Brianna Knott with their roots. Brianna grew up around a farm and eventually wants to run one. However, even she found something new to learn here.
It's something I want to grow up doing, and I did learn a lot from today. I learned how they ultrasound cows. And
Philip Murray is also a sophomore at Pickering High. For him, this field day was a chance to see how everything connects back to agriculture.
Ag is using literally everything you do, your clothes, your food, the electricity, your water, gas, everything revolves around agriculture.
Both Brianna and Philip's teacher, Preston Broxton, sees the real importance of these hands-on lessons today. What he really sees, though, is the future of farming in his community.
We really promote youth education, involvement in the community, because most of our producers are 55 years and older now, and we have no one coming up to replace them.
Rusty Bales with the Vernon Parish Cattlemen's Association said many of these kids want to be involved in some way with animal agriculture when they graduate. The lesson here, he says, is that it starts from the ground up.
And a lot of them don't understand that we're really not beef farmers, we're grass farmers. We grow the grass to raise our beef.
And Philip Murray said he definitely wants to come back next year, but then again, he's got a pretty sharp vision of his own future.
I want to own my own ranch, preferably a horse ranch, about 200 plus acres. And I want to go to business school to get business and agriculture. I want to own my own business in power line construction, which has a big role in agribusiness that a lot of people don't realize. And like I said, on my own ranch, and do rodeo too throughout college.
This field day is now an annual event, 3 years running, and has 17 sponsors. Rusty Bales told us he is hoping the event will grow to include students from outside Vernon Parish, and said he thinks it's something every child can benefit from. And guys, one thing I benefited from was the wisdom that Rusty is a 27-year veteran of the United States Marines.
Yeah, must have been really disciplined out there. I could just see Arlie Ermy lead these kids around.
Screaming in their faces. No, it wasn't anything like that. He's a real nice guy, you know, pretty mild-mannered, but you could see, as he talked about in the piece, that it was some of that discipline transferred over to the stations. They were really good, and the really great thing was how hands-on it was. You know, they really got to get out there and touch cows, and you could see the lights and the wheels spinning.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much, Neil Melanson.
Well, honeybee keepers who recognize potential diseases in their honeybee colonies can prevent the invasion of pests like varroa mites.
Recognizing the signs of honeybee disease was just one of many reasons why more than 200 enthusiasts descended on the USDA's honeybee lab in Baton Rouge for its 20th annual field day. People from across the state listened and took notes while honeybee scientist Michael Simone Finstrom discussed how beekeepers can prevent disease through better breeding techniques. Held in conjunction with the Louisiana Beekeepers Association, this field day is an opportunity to have the beekeeping public learn about the science of honeybees directly from the USDA staff. Research leader Dr. Bob Danka explains that the information exchange between scientists and other beekeepers is key to the sustainability of honeybees.
What the folks who visit get out of this is a chance to learn about our research, which is going toward basically breeding better bees. Bees are under attack from a variety of things. The mission of this laboratory is genetics and breeding to try to improve the resiliency of bees, how they respond to pests, pathogens, parasites. So it's a chance for the beekeepers to learn where we stand in our breeding programs and just how exactly the bees we're producing can help them.
Honeybee scientists provided learning opportunities like how to make splits of existing honeybee colonies, as well as advanced techniques, this is really advanced, such as queen rearing and bee breeding basics. For more information about honeybees, log on to our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on TWILA, we're going to St. Charles Parish to see what's cooking. Dinner here means help for the United Way.
Plus, find out what's trending on TWILA. Coming up next.
Last week, the United Way of St. Charles hosted the 15th annual Battle for the Paddle to raise money for the work they do in the community.
The cook-off featured 145 teams cooking jambalaya and gumbo and serving it up to the guests here. Here you see St. Charles and St. John Farm Bureau agents doing exactly that. Their gumbo received second-place honors in the People's Choice category. Farm Bureau agent Sheldon Cannon cooked the gumbo, and he says events like this are about much more than the food they serve.
That's great. The thing I love most about working for Farm Bureau is that I'm actually able to do these type of events, to meet people, to commute with people, and talk to a lot more people than I would just sitting behind a desk. I mean, this event brings out hundreds of people, so it's really, really great for us as Farm Bureau agents who believe in providing service by a real person to get out and deal with the real people.
This year's Battle for the Paddle raised more than $40,000, which will go a long way in helping the United Way better serve St. Charles Parish. Well, now it's time to move on to Trending on TWILA, where we go online to see what you guys were talking about on social media this week.
Cows, cotton, tigers, and Trump. Oh my, all of the above were trending topics on social media this week.
With less than a month until Election Day, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were once again the top topics on social media this week.
The two faced off in the second debate of the general election season, and once again, agriculture was left out of their heated conversation. With one debate left before we head to the polls, maybe ag will make it in the next time.
I'll keep my fingers crossed. Well, cows running loose in Baton Rouge. That is our second trending topic for the week. On Tuesday, a tractor trailer filled with cattle overturned on Airline Highway near Sherwood Forest. WAFB Channel 9 posted this video on Facebook as police officers tried to catch these bovine escapees running down a major artery in Baton Rouge. Hey, the only thing that I can positively say about this is that at least they were running with the flow of traffic and not against it.
Yeah, but it still caused them to shut down that part of Airline Highway for an hour, and believe me, Baton Rouge traffic, bad enough. We don't need cattle making it any worse.
And Airline Highway's bad no matter what time of the day it is.
But they just had to move along, just like we will. Cotton harvest has officially kicked off here in Louisiana, and we are seeing some gorgeous photos and videos all over Facebook of this beautiful white gold crop.
Riggs Ware posted this incredible drone video of his Mississippi cotton harvest onto the Southern Farming Facebook page, and some really great video. I swear cotton harvest is one of my favorite times of the year.
Adam Falk posted this picture on Facebook as he picked his cotton crop. His cotton field also served as a great backdrop for some family photos of his children.
Finally, we end this week's trending segment with some sad news. LSU's live tiger mascot, Mike VI, passed away on Tuesday after a tough battle with cancer.
LSU fans mourned Mike's loss by posting photos, videos, and their favorite memories with the hashtag Mike6 on social media.
Mascots from other universities across the country even sent flowers and notes of support to Mike and all of the people who cared for him and loved him so much.
LSU posted photos of Mike's habitat where fans left flowers, balloons, and condolences for Mike. The university also posted this beautiful video tribute with the message, "Thank you for the memories, Mike 6. You have been an iconic symbol of the spirit of our university, and you've also been a best friend to all LSU Tigers, young and old. May you rest in peace."
Now let's move on to this week's TWILA Trivia. Last week I asked you, in 1929, a group of 4-H club boys delivered what kind of animals to the South Pole? And the correct answer is B, pigs. This week's trending trivia question is, according to an old university legend, what happens for every time that Mike the Tiger roars during his pregame lap around the field? Is it A, the number of injuries on the opposing team, B, the number of times LSU will score, or C, the number of points opposing teams will lose by? To enter this week's trending trivia contest, simply log on to your Facebook or Twitter account and post your answer with the hashtag TWILA Trivia, or you can always enter on our website at twilatv.org.
I always thought it was the number of steaks he was going to get after the game.
You're just going to have to wait until next week to see. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week for the next installment of Carl Wigger's series, Patently, Louisiana.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Kristen Oaks-White and all of us here at TWILA, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.